Next up, Happily. Come on out, guys.
Everybody. Hi, my name's Tom. This is Adam. We're from Happily. We're working on the timeless human problem that many people don't tell their leaders what's really on their mind, how they're really feeling, often because they don't think that things can or will change. So let's show you how we're addressing this problem. This is Happily. The first thing, let's imagine that I'm an employee at RIM on the developer relations team, and let's see how I'd use Happily. The first thing I'm seeing is a series of questions designed specifically for me and my team. And I know that I can answer these questions safely because they're all anonymous. My answers are anonymous. So before I answer any of these questions, let's see how the answers I've already given over the course of the week, marked in the blue bar, compare to that of my colleagues, which is measured in the yellow line. And I can compare that in each of the 4 areas which we're asking questions about. So let's answer a few of these questions. This is a new question that just appeared today. I wonder what this might be related to. My confidence in our product's competitive positioning? New iPad? I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm going to say unsure. The Android developer feedback that we're getting, on the other hand, is actually very positive. Uh-oh, this is a big one. My confidence in our ability to actually ship product by the end of the month? Very low. My team members are helping foster developer loyalty? No, where it's really dysfunctional. My manager's responsive to the customer issues? Somewhat. Uh-oh, this is a big one. I'm thinking about leaving the company today. Now, as a manager, I can set up alerts for specific questions that either text me or send me an email when a question is answered a certain way. So I've answered it yes. Now let's see what the manager sees. Immediately, an email has come in to my manager. And what she's seeing is that not only have 6 of her 30 team members said yes to this question, but 4 of them have said yes for the first time about this question. So I need to act on that, but before I do, tell me more information. What's really going on? So I go into Happily's manager dashboard. And what this does is it aggregates anonymously all the questions that we're asking up into a very easy-to-read dashboard. So let's see what the company looks like first. So what I'm seeing is, yep, there was a big drop in sentiment. Why? The 2 questions and the answer variations that have changed most negatively are that I'm feeling somewhat low about our competitive positioning, and yep, there's people thinking about quitting. But tell me more. What's really going on? I click on the team, and isn't this interesting? For the first time, we've had a really big drop in team sentiment. Why? Because the answer to the question about how we're working with our developers is actually really negative. How many? Now remember, these numbers that you're seeing against these employees are anonymous, but a reference to the fact that a number of them, 5 or 6 employees, have answered negatively as compared to their previous answers about this question. So instantly, just like that, I'm able to get a strong signal of how my team's sentiment is shifting about the issues that are affecting my team's performance. The average user session for a Happily employee is about 2.5 minutes. For a manager, only about 5 minutes a day to be able to get, essentially in real time, insights into exactly what is happening with their team. We work on a SaaS model, $5 to $10 per employee per month. And we think that this has the opportunity to create happier employees, which Harvard Business Review just wrote extensively about that actually driving bottom line performance. So we are raising a round of $500,000. We'll be publishing our angel list profile later on this afternoon. And if you're a manager of a team, we'd love to get you using Happily on a trial basis. And just before I get off the stage, I'd just like to thank the whole launch team. They've given us great feedback. We're happy to be here on the stage and looking forward to feedback from the panel. Thank you.
Great. What did you guys think? We're sensing a theme here. Every year, 2 or 3 companies execute well on similar ideas. So what do you guys think? Compare, contrast.
I mean, I think both this and 15.5 are phenomenal tools to start to try to get more information in and be able to work and work against it quickly. I think the really big issue is that tools don't change cultures.
Absolutely.
And that, you know, at least in my experience for both this or 15.5, the ability to do get anonymous feedback and to be able to have more around questions or specific things that are actionable as opposed to, you know, and people's comfort telling you that they're going to leave the company is not very high, generally speaking. So it might actually be interesting also to pull in some additional data points. Like, for example, one of the best ways to see if people are going to be leaving your company is if they've recently updated their LinkedIn profile.
Right.
And ask for lots of recommendations and endorsements from other people on your team. So maybe something like that also might be an interesting thing to start to pull in. But I worry a little bit about just sort of the utopia of if we make these tools available, people will start being honest with us, and that would be just the only thing to
Well,
watch.
there's no magic bullet to culture, number one, and frankly, actually, what this is meaning to do is actually augment and to help build a bridge for managers to actually be interacting with the teams. The idea that any tool is going to suddenly replace the value of real interaction, we're not subscribing to that philosophy. About data, in addition to the SaaS fees that we can collect, we really believe that this is a data play and that the value of employee sentiment, not only in us pushing out to other data, but also in taking in other data to inform and create a better score. We've all seen the kind of controversy around, well, let's say unnamed influence scores and so on. And the point is, a single data point is not enough of a signal. It's just part of a matrix. So I agree.
So two things that kind of struck me. One, I'm just concerned about survey fatigue, not from you, but just in general. It's a huge issue.
Yep.
At Microsoft, we do it once a year, and we get complaints about that.
Yeah.
Right. And then the only other thing is, this feels like it could be a crutch for bad managers, not necessarily as much of a help for a good manager who's already got that connection. Yeah. So I could see it in the case of if you had specialized use cases like, hey, you're building a new team. That's something that's really interesting. Put it in play for a couple months. But from the standpoint of getting real-time feedback, if we could connect all our employees up to, and so we could automatically understand their sentiment every day they came into the office, I'm not sure I'd want that anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. And there's 3 points that you raised. The first is survey fatigue. And the reason why people don't like surveys is because by the time that they're actually analyzed, and that is actually action back to individual departments, there's no sense of actual value to the individual teams.
It's also impersonal.
That's one. Right? Two is with respect to, I think that the greater point that you're raising is the fact that if you're, that this can feel like too much information. And one of the things I can tell you is we're absolutely hated day one by manager and employee because they're thinking the likelihood of me wanting another tool, forget about it. But within the end of the first week, when a manager comes and socializes this data back with their teams, then there's that aha moment of actually, this is helping be able to focus and create clarity, and I'm willing to spend those extra couple of minutes to get that because there's that breakthrough. The last point that you raised, it's gone,
okay.
But that's...
Take another question. Yeah.
I would encourage you to think a little bit about how different companies may use this tool or require different aspects of the overall value proposition which you're trying to solve. I think it's a worthy cause. We see this at Sequoia with companies as they grow from half a dozen people to 100 to much larger, and also different types of teams, as was discussed earlier. And I think the overall thing that you're trying to solve here is important, but as you consider whether weekly is the right frequency and also the types of questions and how they're presented, think about how that may look to different types of organizations because they're so different.
Absolutely.
And as things grow, you will need to change the product.
Absolutely. Well, actually, as part of our product roadmap, we have kind of a questions marketplace. There's a number of consultants who are all experts on various aspects of organizational development. Why not allow them to say, here are our branded questions. If you're an automotive company looking to make this kind of change, here are the questions we think are designed for your company. We originally designed this for large companies, but what we found is the sub 200 number of companies that wanted to use this have been significant. The problem is that they don't have necessarily the HR culture experience to ask the right questions. So that's why the question marketplace is on our roadmap. Back to one thing I need to bring up, Matt, I remember your point, which is bad managers. we actually want to fire paying customers if they're not responding to the data. This is not meant as a crutch for bad people because we care about the employees. And ultimately, if you're using it at Microsoft and the managers are not reacting, at a conference they're going to say, you know what? Happily, forget about it. My manager didn't react. So we're monitoring that.
It's actually the other way around. It's that a lot of these types of discussions, a good manager will have these types of discussions in person, have that kind of relationship. Bad manager is the one that's going to hide behind the survey and use that as the mechanism to get the feedback.
And that's good feedback.
Have you noticed any trends in the data in your betas where it's mostly, does it trend towards negative data? Like, I feel like people could just use this as a venting tool a lot, especially because of the anonymous nature of it.
So one of the things is that I showed you that comparison of how your answers score up against. What we've actually seen is that that's an honest mirror of self-reflection. If I'm the only one on my team where I'm far below the rest of my team, I'm able to see that as a signal. And in one case in particular, we had an employee who essentially was described by their manager as a problem employee, coming to them voluntarily saying, hey, you know what? I can see that I'm just not thriving here. So, you know, how do I fix this?
Awesome. Let's hear it for Happily. Well done.